Pleased to welcome back to the Daily Faceoff Show Pat Steinberg, who covers the Calgary Flames for Sportsnet 960 for this edition of the All 32 delivered by DoorDash. Pat, it just felt like one of those nights for the Calgary Flames who entered Dallas and just weren't going to be denied. You look at the shots that they put up in the first period, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Jake Ottinger, almost 40 shots on goal through the first two periods. So as the Flames head back to the Dome, have they cracked the code of the Dallas Stars in round one?
Maybe. They definitely did what they needed to do from start to finish on Monday night. And the biggest thing about this series for me going into game four, because the Flames hadn't played poorly in the first three games. It's not like they were bad in the two games that they had lost, but what was really hurting them was they weren't getting kind of those game-changing dominant performances from their best players, and they weren't making life difficult on Jake Ottinger between the pipes for Dallas. And that's not taking a single thing away from Jake, because he has been outstanding, and even when they did last night make life difficult on him and got traffic and bodies to the net and made him work, he was still outstanding. That stop on Tyler Toffoli is one of the saves of the playoffs, and he made two or three saves that were not far behind in terms of how good those saves were. So he has been outstanding. But the Flames finally made him really work. They finally made it more difficult for him to work through traffic, and he had to look around bodies and fight for space, and that was huge. And they were able to drive things with their top line. Johnny Gaudreau had a dominant performance, maybe the best playoff game I've ever seen Johnny play, and I've covered every game that he's played in Calgary. That's got to be the best playoff game he's ever played. Elias Lindholm continues to be great. Matthew Tkachuk got his game back on track. Calgary's top pairing was strong, and Jacob Markstrom was really good between the pipes once again. So it was the type of game that, for the first time in this series, resembled the team that the Calgary Flames were when they won 50 games in the regular season. They drove possession. They had shot volume through the roof. They didn't allow a whole lot. And when they did have the rare breakdown, they had Jacob Markstrom there to back them up. And their top line, even though they went with 11 forwards instead of 12 last night, when their top line of Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau was together, it was great. And it was the offensive engine and the offensive driver for him. So if they do that again, to go back to your question, yeah, I do think that is the formula. That is the blueprint. The question now is, can they do it two more times in the next three games?
Well, I certainly agree with your assessment on a lot of that stuff. It definitely looked a lot more like the Calgary Flames that I saw roll through Chicago a couple times and just smother the Blackhawks and just really give them no life from puck drop to the final horn. The way they come at you, stay on top of you, their discipline. I'm watching Johnny Gaudreau play last night. He has a signature Johnny moment. He gets a breakaway. He ends up with the penalty shot. There's all this pressure right now. You've got Daryl Sutter calling him out a little bit in the press conference, saying he's got to do his job. Do you look at this moment for Johnny Hockey and think this is the moment that takes the pressure and the monkey off his back, where he can now be that dominant player that we saw score 100-plus points, and really we've seen dominate regular seasons now since he's entered the league? Is it time for him now to really take that step and put himself in a position to carry his team in the playoffs?
Well, that was a big-time player making a big-time play in a big-time spot last night. And that's not always something that we've seen from Johnny. And to your point about what Daryl said, he was referencing Johnny's Game 3 breakaway when they were down by one. Dallas had just scored their go-ahead goal in the third period thanks to Joe Pavelski. And a few minutes later, Johnny had that uncontested breakaway, and Jake Ottinger stopped him. And you have to think that was running through his head as he was getting ready for that penalty shot last night, with an opportunity to put the Flames up by two in a game that, despite the fact that Calgary controlled start to finish, Dallas was still getting, these pretty decent quality chances every 3 or 4 minutes, and Markstrom had to still be pretty tight. So a one-goal lead did not feel comfortable. And what I liked about it is that that penalty shot goal was, yeah, the big time moment and the signature play, as you said, but it was part of a really good game for Johnny, and a night where he was dynamic all night long and also faced a little adversity. He took that hit from Vlad Nemesnikov early. I still have only seen the two looks at it. I still don't know if he got caught in the head or if it was just a big jolt to the shoulder that got him. But regardless, he left, was gone for the first half of the first period, looked a little shaken up, came back, and we've seen it times in the past, especially in the playoffs. If something like that happens, maybe it throws Johnny off his game a little bit. Did not happen. Made him better, I feel like, and so he was driving play. He was not finding ways past Jake Ottinger. That line wasn't finding ways past Jake Ottinger. And then he gets that penalty shot and he still buries. And I thought that was huge. And about 5 minutes later, he had a primary on Elias Lindholm's 3-0 goal. So it was one of those games, to your point, Colby, where I think that's the type of game that I think Johnny can say, yes, I know I can do it in the postseason. I know I can be the same dominant force in the playoffs when things are harder, things are more physical, there's less room out there. I can still be that guy that put up 115 points in the regular season. It's not going to be like that every night. We all know that. But that's the type of night in a big spot against a team that has frustrated Calgary throughout this series where he still was able to take over. And I think that's huge for Johnny as this series and as this postseason continues.
Well, it's a little
Johnny,
BC on BU crime as well, so I know that's always a little bit of extra fire, for those guys. I certainly had a couple of text messages to and from about that scenario, so good to see him break through.
So Johnny Gaudreau delivered 4 points in 4 games in the series. Pat Steinberg always delivers. You can hear him on Flames Talk on Sportsnet 960, 4 to 7 Mountain Time every day, Monday to Friday. Pat, thank you so much. You know who else delivers? DoorDash. All your favorites and more delivered right to your door. You see the promo codes there at the bottom of your screen, DFODD if you're in Canada, DFODDUS if you're in the United States. That gets you 25% off and free delivery on your first order with DoorDash. All your favorites and more right to your door.